Hello, everyone. We're finally here. I'm pleased to present my practicum placement, a literature review on basic income and violence against women. To begin, I give acknowledgement of the lands my practicum took place in. I currently reside on the Lekwungen territories of the Songhees, the Esquimalt, and Wasanich nations, while my supervisor is based on the territories of the Anishinaabe, Ojibwe, Dakota, Dene, and Métis nations. My practicum placement was by distance with the University of Manitoba. My supervisor, Dr. Evelyn Forget, is a professor and economist in the Department of Community Health Sciences, teaching courses on economic evaluations of health interventions, including a course focused on COVID-19 this year. Dr. Forget is one of the most well-known Canadian experts on basic income from her research on the 1970s basic income pilot in Dauphin, Manitoba, the town with no poverty. My role is to conduct a structured literature review, and my research questions are, does basic income influence violence against women? Do particular social services offered in conjunction with basic income improve outcomes? Because my area of interest is in global health, I am reviewing literature from around the world. So I picked this topic based on my personal interests. I made a search strategy to find relevant primary research and gray literature. I developed screening criteria, created a protocol to follow, and decided which journal to aim for publishing, considering how to structure my manuscript. Bias is any systemic error that leads to incorrect results of the associations between exposure and health outcomes. I've identified my own bias from my positionality as someone who works in the field of domestic violence and advocated for basic income for many years. Through the review, I have had some of my assumptions challenged and worked towards keeping transparency by documenting all stages of the search and screening processes. Critical appraisals help address potential bias in the research. And for my topic, I would want to know how the researchers acquired the sample, whether the control group was used for comparison, whether participants would feel safe and comfortable in answering questions about violence, such as one-on-one interviews without their partners present. I keep in mind that researchers and interviewers can be biased in their approach. The skill in critical appraisals can help me determine the strengths of evidence and look for potential bias. The public health values of social justice and equity guide my practicum work. Public health aims to eliminate the gaps in health disparities and often caused by social and economic inequalities. Basic income has become a topic of political engagement for social change worldwide. And my research questions acknowledge the influences of income inequality and gender inequality and analyzes potential evidence of interventions that could mitigate this inequality, such as basic income, health services, education, and other social programs. I commit to promoting health research to establish measurable goals that identify and close the gaps of health outcomes between Indigenous and non-Indigenous communities. We learned in class that allyship is different from advocacy, as advocacy is working on behalf of someone and allyship is working with. Indigenous women are speaking out on gendered violence as a form of systemic violence shaped by colonization. Research has shown that Indigenous communities face higher rates of gendered violence and poverty than non-Indigenous people worldwide. And while I'm trying to amplify the narratives of Indigenous women in this review, the lack of research done on systemic violence prompts me to recommend future research to be fully funded and conducted under the leadership of Indigenous communities. Many public health experts that advocate for basic income refer to the social determinants of the health. My review acknowledges the influences of income, gender norms, household conditions, education, employment, social support, health services, and cultural dynamics as they impact the prevalence of gendered violence, affecting both the physical and mental health. My first exposure to this concept of social determinants of health was at a basic income conference in 2016 when I first met Dr. Forget. And since then, it's been applicable to my work in domestic violence shelters, my studies in public health, and likely in my future career. The BEA program has exceeded my expectations. My most memorable assignment is learning through the Monk debates, the risks and benefits of foreign aid in Africa. And it highlighted complex problems that could arise from constructing a basic income, offered me a nuanced approach for this review. And in our BA program, I became inspired to pursue a career in health research, which only deepened through the COVID-19 pandemic. My practicum gives me insight to health research literature as I plan to continue through the summer to submit my journal article for review. And I plan on gaining health research skills through graduate school or other ways of gaining practical experience. I'd like to thank my supervisor, Dr. Evelyn Fouché, for guiding me and hearing my ideas. I'd also like to thank Natalie Frenzen and all of our faculty for your care and attention throughout the BA program as we work towards our careers in public health. And last, I'd like to thank the cohort of students that I've had who've been extremely supportive and collaborative throughout this program. Thanks everyone, and I hope to work with you all again in the future.